Well, no, I've got a lot of work yet to do, but we've got a good start on it.
Yeah.
You know, really what we've tried to do is one of the big steps in starting a program is getting your culture taught. You know, teaching the little things like what we expect in, practice effort and, little fundamental things that affect the football team, such as, covering after throws, that go downfield, getting all the receivers to turn and find work and cover, yards after the catch. Defensively, I know one of the things that our defense works hard on is getting 11 hats in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time doing those kind of things, and then obviously getting our base, formations, personnel groups, the base run taught, the base protections, the base pass, and we haven't gone much past that because we wanted to bring that to detail. And we've got some, along with that, situational football, which is really important to help the quarterback learn to manage it more than anybody else.
Apologize for that. Everything that I've heard indicates y'all are almost treating these guys as if, I don't want to say that they didn't win any games last year, but it's like, 8-5, who cares, Treat them like they're 0-12 and start from the ground floor.
Not so much that, really, that's not the mindset. It's more what I just said, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because we're different in our style, what we believe it takes to win. And that's just it's obviously starts with Charlie and how he manages us and what we believe as a staff. So the crux of what we wanted to get started, first time working on the field, is bringing our players to detail. Because, for example, in the passing game, I want our route work, I expect it to look exactly like the drawings. And our receivers have to understand, what it takes to do that. There's fundamental training that's involved with that, first and second level releases, and then learning who we're attacking and how we space up on them and how to leverage defenders. So all those details, it takes time. It was a 3-year project for us. And it didn't take 3 years, but, there at Louisville, our kids, you look at our play, and it looked exactly like the drawings, and it started looking that way in our second season. So you got to, to get it, if I hope I'm making sense, you got to bring all those things to detail. And then, the things like finishing, we put cones down the field, we expect them to finish, depending on the drill, 20 or 30 yards down the field, because we want our receivers and our backs, tight ends to quarterbacks if they're involved, to practice scoring touchdowns. It has to be a habit. You don't just get it on game day. So, you teach those fundamental things and train them to react when they're in that situation, so you get it on game day.
Shawn, on Saturday, do you want to execute some tempo and kind of work that out? And how vanilla is the play calling?
It'll be really vanilla. We're still trying to, we may hop into it. We've worked on it. Obviously, it was part of, some of our situational stuff that I shouldn't say situational. Our base install was our tempo. We worked out of the huddle, for the first couple weeks, simply because we wanted to coach them. We wanted to coach them. We wanted to, be there with them, and it's hard to do that when you're in tempo. So it's more get them on the field, get them, between, and we wanted to be with them on every play because we wanted to, again, bring it to detail, teach those little things that we want to be part of our culture. So it'll be vanilla. We'll do what we'll execute things that we feel like we want to get seen on film, with our players. It's more about the players right now, putting them out there and seeing what we have, especially with our ones, because our ones are guys that we're going to, line up and play with next year, and then, see what we have with the twos who are competing with them.
How big a setback was Ash's injury for missing the game and however weeks or months?
Yeah, I tell you what, as far as, I looked at it like this, for David, because we didn't really, don't know when it really happened. It's one of those, those fractures like that are just kind of weird, just pop up. He really felt, after practice, he finished practice the day it happened, and he was going full speed. I didn't think there was anything wrong with him, and I saw him at the training room. He said he's going to go get an X-ray, and then the next morning, so good morning. But he, it was a setback for him in that it's not a big one because he got the majority of our install done. Thursday was the first time that he was obviously came up with the injury, so he missed the scrimmage and he missed this week. Very little went in, very little. He got all the situational football. He got the base offense. He got the tempo offense. At least the beginning. He's going to be no worse off than anybody else. The only thing he missed was one other install that we did, which really plays off things we're already doing. So it's not that big a setback for him.
Did you see enough from him that you think he established himself and you can win big with him?
Well, here's what I feel about him. David, he was beginning to get it. He's really worked hard in the off season, studying, and he's been. I can't beat him out of my office. He's always there. He's like my chair in my office. Every time I turn around, he's in it, and that's good. Because he's worked really hard at learning how, what we do, why we. Most importantly, I didn't want him to know. He's going to have to know how, but I wanted him to know why. And he really started to catch on. He was really doing really well. His last week and a half, he was really playing at a high level. So he showed us that we can win with him. So he's done well. And then the other side of it, though, for Ty, I gave Ty a chance to get more reps. We've been able to put more into him, more reps because we started rolling those two guys around quite a bit.
From an offensive line standpoint, you guys replaced some guys who had an awful lot of starts. How are those battles, particularly at offensive guard, kind of shaping out at this point?
Well, I think Sed's a tough kid. He's proven himself at the left guard spot. Perk was having a really big spring for us before he got nicked up, and I think he's going to be a really good player. I mean, he was playing really well. And we were going to move him inside, and that's given Rami and the other Doyle, some of the younger guys, a chance to obviously get more time. And we've actually Joe did a great job of rolling those guys and doing a little cross training with them. So it worked out really well for them. Now they're still works in progress because that's the biggest transition spot. That and quarterback, there's so many technical, from their standpoint, fundamental technique things to learn. And from the quarterback, obviously, the whole system.
You have him at guard?
Well, I'm sorry, who's that?
Perkins?
Yeah, he was playing guard. We played him at both. We cross-trained him at tackle and guard. We felt like he could, with what we saw of him, we could move him inside.
Does that mean the depth at tackle, obviously Harrison and Kennedy.
Right.
Who else have you seen at tackle?
Well, we've actually had to move, when he was playing it for us, he actually played and was, cross-trained, so he did play tackle. The other younger tackles that have done that's the hardest position because they're on the edge, and pass rush, especially the way that Vance, and the defense structures himself and what they do, those younger tackles they've had a real learning curve fast. And they're a work in progress. Our Estelle and he's played really well, and Dez has played really well. Harrison, those two tackles are good players. You can see, Harrison, he could be a very, very special player. And I know with Joe's persistency, he's going to become that because we see his talent, and you see some of the things he does, and you go, wow, this guy can be really special. With Dom at center and Sed and those two tackles, and then you roll Perk in there. We've got a pretty good core of guys in there in that first group.
Are there guys like that, like Harrison, Warwick, who you had no film on from last year that really caught your eye this spring?
Yeah, well, Harrison, was probably. Because you'd see him in like winter conditioning, you go, oh my God, this guy's good. He's very athletic. He can run. He could, he can bend. He's got a real physical mindset. So you were hoping that when you put the pads on and went out there, you wouldn't be disappointed, and you weren't. He played really well. Now he's still learning. He's still catching on, but he's natural. He's got a lot of natural ability and a natural. An attitude for an offensive lineman. He's got some nasty in him. He'll grind, which is what we need in that whole core of guys. But the younger guys have been, because it's the first time they've been worked with, and especially by us in a new system, you know, they haven't, you know, they've been growing is the best way to put it. We're not dissatisfied. We just know that it's a process with them, best way to put it. They're still not where we want them to be, but there's, you know, we see the talent in them and they're developing.
Is Ty capable of being a successful quarterback at this level?
I think so. You know, I'm really encouraged by him. I tell you, the thing I like most about Ty is his demeanor. He's, you know, he's got poise. You know, he's a good study too, and I mean, what I mean by that is he, you know, he'll put the time into it. I mean, he's got great notes. You know, I take their notes up and I look at them to make sure that they're hearing me right, and make sure they know how to. It's one thing, hey, say take notes, but it's another thing to teach them how to. So I've been really impressed with the detail of his notes, and then how he's grown through the spring. I'm really pleased with him. I really am. I think. You know, he's not a done product. You know, but he's, you know, like every time we do something new situationally, we put him in several different 2-minute situations as an example, one example. And every time he goes out there, we put him in a new situation. So because of that, he's learned to rely on, you know, the fundamental principles of what it takes to be successful in that drill. Because otherwise you can get lost in all the stuff. So he's really learned how to center himself. So he's got poise, you know, and he can be taught. I like him a lot. I really do. I like his demeanor. I like his skill set. He's very explosive. You know, there's things that we're going to work on this summer that he needs to do in terms of mechanics, just delivering the football. But they're real easy fixes. And everything that he's done for us on the field, he's been, you know, a hard worker, and you know, I know he wants to succeed. You know, because he's put it in his work ethic.
Can you talk about
Two last ones for Shawn?
Can you talk about the guys he's throwing to? Marcus Johnson.
Oh yeah,
Charlie keeps.
He's done
every
well.
now and again tabs him a little bit.
You know, Marcus is a big play player. I mean, he's got great speed. He's assignment sound. He's played obviously a lot of football, so he's got a real feel for the game. He's a great fit in what we do, and. He's had a big spring for us. He really has. He's played very well. You know, DeJay's played very well. You know, he's explosive. He needs to continue to work at the assignment aspect. I could say that really about everybody, obviously, but you know, he's as he grows and gets confident in those things, his talent's is overwhelming what he can do. He's one step at full speed and very explosive. You know, Shipley's had a really big spring for us. He's so consistent. Every team needs him. You know, he's smart, tough, and dependable. He's had a really nice spring. He's got a skill set that, you know, I think sometimes you underestimate because he's so steady in his play, and then he'll make some huge plays for us. And Kendall's had a good spring. I think that whole group of kids there that, you know, obviously a lot of those guys played last year have all, you know, done very well for us this spring. And then the younger guys, you know, they're like those young offensive linemen. They're all developing.
Is this going to be a 50-50 run pass thing?
Well, we have to. We're still, you know, we're still really finding out who we are, you know, a little bit, because we don't have Jonathan out there. Right. You know, we miss Perk out there. You know, when you look around, you know, Greg Daniels isn't out there. You know, and he's big. I know this. I really feel this. I mean, with this group of guys, you know, with the receivers, the tight ends, I'm really pleased with Jeff Swain, really pleased with him. He can set an edge, and I know Greg can. I've seen that on film. So the tight end group, really solid group of guys, and two really, I think, really good players in there. Jeff, we worked with this spring. He had a really nice spring. And then, you know, the receiving core, a lot of skill, a lot of speed, guys that can change a game. You know, in their running back spots, Malcolm has been lights out all spring. He's been very consistent. He's a big play player, and he's my kind of back. I love feeding those guys. And you know, I've seen Jonathan play, obviously, and you know, see what he can do. So I think the biggest part of that, being honest, is the development of the quarterback. And you know, I like the way David came along, and I like the way Ty's coming along. We've got a lot of work in front of us, but we certainly have the pieces around those quarterbacks so we could be that type of team.
we're still working hard and trying to develop an identity. I think that's a big part of anything you do when you talk about defense. It's real simple. If you tackle well, you're probably going to have a good defense. And we worked on that quite a bit this spring. You know, I believe as a team we've made strides, but we have a long way to go.
Vance, talk about your secondary, the guys who flashed for you. What do you have back there, safety, for him?
Quandre Diggs is a guy who has shown a lot. He has shown he can be a leader on this football team. I mean, he practiced well. He made great strides. Mikel Thompson, when we played him some at corner, some at safety, he had an outstanding spring. You know, from the first practice to the last practice today, he did a great job. You know, Duke is coming on. You know, you have a lot of guys who've had playing experience here, and the biggest thing I'm finding out is that we lack confidence. And to play that position, you have to have confidence. You know, you're going to have a bad play. You're going to have a bad day. And if you can't put it behind you, you can't play that position. You know, that's the biggest thing we're trying to develop here is confidence in the things we do and who we are as a defensive team.
The starting quarterback's injured, and Shawn Watson was just saying the play call is going to be vanilla on Saturday, so there's no excuse for defense not to dominate, right? I mean,
you know what? We're going to be vanilla too. You know, we're going to be real simple. You know, when you get in a spring game, it's about having fun. It's about playing everybody that's out there, walk-ons included. They all are a big part of this program. We're going to play everybody. We're going to keep it simple. And we're going to let the guys go out there and have fun. We're not trying to scheme or trick anybody. Real simple. Again, blocking and tackling. That's all it's about. It's not about what scheme we can come up with. Can we trick the offense? Can the offense trick the defense? Line up. I want to block the guy in front of you, and can we tackle the guy that's in front of us?
Will you try to trick people in the fall, or is it more just line up and beat them?
The number one thing about anything you do, you must have a plan. And the one thing we're going to do is be simple. If we execute well on defense, we tackle well on defense, we run well to the ball, then we have a chance to be pretty decent. You can't fool anybody. Eventually, they're going to figure out what you do. So you got to be simple. You got to have a game plan. You have to have a good foundation. Those are the things we want to have as a solid foundation.
Vance, along those lines, I thought it was really interesting. Shawn talked about how he looks at the quarterback's notes to make sure they're taking notes correctly. Are you doing things on the defensive side that is like literally football 101, the way y'all want to program these kids?
You have to start there. You know, yesterday what all the coaches did, they put every one of the players on the board. You know, we talked about things we need to do. It's not about us doing all the talking or trying to lecture the guys. Sometimes find out what they know. So in all the rooms, defensive line, linebacker, secondary, they had diagrams on the board with routes and said, you have to go up here, draw this defense. And right now, you coach Santos, you coach Diggs. Explain what you're doing, the alignment, the assignment on this particular play. What do you do? Because sometimes as a coach, you spend more time trying to lecture instead of sometimes listening. And that's the biggest thing coaches, good coaches. I learned from Alan Lowry, who I saw today, as a matter of fact. That's how he taught me. He made us talk about putting us on the board to see what we knew, what we didn't know. And as coaches, you know, I firmly believe in that. Put them to the test, make them talk. Because if they can get up there and explain it, they have a chance to go out there on the football field and do it. But if you never ask them, never put them to the test in the classroom, then don't expect for them to do it on game day. Right. I'm a firm believer in that. If you don't put them to the test, you have no reason as a coach to be upset.
Vance, you talked about the confidence, lack of confidence. Talk a little bit more about that, what you saw in terms of the lack of confidence. And I know you're telling some players, look, you're good enough. Start to feel good enough.
It's about having success. And you have to build one block at a time. If you're going to build a house, you never start with the roof. You start with the foundation. And so we're just going back to the simple things. Let's get in the stance. Let's take a proper step. If you don't take the proper step, let's do it again. So now believe in what you're doing, just one step at a time, the little things. And then, you know, the first 3 days, we didn't put in a lot of defenses. And I had a schedule I wanted to stick with, practice 4. I'm like, we hadn't gotten practice 3 or 2 done the right way. We're not going to put anything else in until we improve in this area. So we're doing it one step at a time. And the players have to learn to believe in the system. You have to trust the guy next to you. You need to understand not only what your job is, but what his job is. So now, when you look at a run defense, everyone has a gap. You have a certain run fit. If you take care of your responsibility, the defense has a good chance of working. And those are things we're doing right now, just real simple things.
How many confident players do you have right now?
You know, when I look at our D-line, those guys have the attitude you want. I look at Diggs. Diggs has been a 4-year player here. He has that type of swagger, as the players would say. We need more guys with Diggs' attitude to walk out and say, you know what, yeah, I'm at the University of Texas, but I'm going to show you why I'm at the University of Texas. And that's a mindset you must have. You come here for a reason. You come here to win championships. Let's not kid ourselves. Otherwise, you shouldn't come here. And he has that attitude. You know, Malcolm Brown, our defensive tackle, he has that attitude. You know, you look at Tank Jackson. I mean, my man at nose guard, he a high energy, high motor guy, has a smile on his face. I love being around him because he brings a certain attitude to practice that you must have to be successful.
On some level, are the guys who are going through this here, I mean, do you feel like this is the core group that'll, you know, going forward, that this will, when they look back, they'll say, hey, remember that spring where Coach Bedford made us teaching us how to do a stance? You know, is this the type of stuff that brings them together?
It is. You know, part of a team, and I think Coach Strong has the right idea, is moving them back on campus. Mm-hmm. It starts there because when I was here, we all stayed in the dorm. I had a great time. Mm-hmm. And I got to know not only the seniors but the juniors. When I became older and the freshmen came in, right now, you know, juniors and seniors live off campus. So the freshmen and sophomores don't know them. So it's a lot of things you do off the field that you get to know each other, get to trust each other. So now it comes to on the field. Mm-hmm. And it's like having a family. I mean, if you have a family, you're eating at different places, you never get a chance to sit down and talk and know each other. Well, a team is a family. And what we're trying to do is build that attitude back to this program. We're one big happy family. You should know who his brother is or how his mom is doing, but you can't know that if you stand, you know, off campus.
Riverside, yeah.
It starts off the field, then it comes on the field and things we do together. You know, we work hard together, we sweat together, we cry together, and that's all part of it.
Vance, you know, people look at the linebacker position, big guys, but maybe slow guys, Edmond, Santos, Beck. You tell us, you know, what do you want from your linebacker position? Tim Cole's obviously more of a speed guy, but what do you need in this conference at linebacker?
Well, Steve Edmond, number one, is not slow. He's very athletic, and he is a perfect fit for this conference. I mean, he is long. I mean, he can run. He can change directions. He's very athletic. In a lot of places, he would probably be a wheel linebacker, you know, because he can run to the ball. He has a great skill set. You know, my man Tim Cole, I call him Nat King's nephew. I mean, he is a big physical guy. I mean, so we have some guys that we have a good mixture of linebackers, physical, they're athletic, and the biggest thing for those guys is learning to trust the system. And right now they're not sure. I mean, we are a one-gap defense. You need to know where your fit is. Well, Coach, I saw this. No, you didn't. Coach, no, you did not see that. This is your gap. Take care of your responsibility. Do that first before you do anything else. And it comes back to that trust factor. When they understand what to do and how to do it and trust that the other teammates are going to do their job, then we're taking the steps in the right direction. We're not there yet. We have a long way to go, but we don't play a game until we play North Texas State. We have a little time yet.
After almost a full spring, what's your biggest concern?
No one across this country has depth. Not Alabama, not Florida. Everybody's the same when it comes to that. You know, my biggest concern right now is still us playing as a unit and understanding the expectations of playing at the University of Texas. You know, I'm looking at some of the former teammates I played with. You know, Kenneth Sims was out there, Brad Shear was out there. You're talking about two guys who, you know, played in the NFL, won all type of awards. And the one thing that they say, you know what, it's good to see those guys out there working hard. And it starts right there. It starts with hard work. Nothing's easy. There's nothing easy about what you do in the real world. The jobs that you have right now, you got to where you are because you worked hard. Who gave it to you? Nobody. So we try to get these guys back to the simple thing. If you want it, go work for it. And that's what it's all about. If you come here, you're going to work. If you work hard, then good things can happen for you. And that's what this university is all about.
What's your biggest surprise? How's your barbecue search going?
Oh, my goodness, my barbecue search. You know, I have about 5 more I want to try out. But, you know, I can't tell you which one I like because they say I can't do that. I can't put my stamp on anybody. But there's a couple I found that my wife and I think pretty doggone good. Now, I can't tell you which ones, but I enjoy myself.
Is that scary to you, Vance, that your biggest concern is guys playing together?
That's always a part of it. That's always, in every place I've been, when you have teams that come together as one and they trust each other, you have great success. You know, I went back to Michigan in 2007, And we had a 10-year reunion of the 1997 national championship team. And Charles Woodson, Marcus Ray, all those guys played in the NFL. They said, Coach, you didn't know this. You had taught us everything we needed to know. We go out there, we adjust and change the defense just because of what we saw on video, because what you guys taught us. They played as a unit because they trusted each other. And that's what football is all about. I mean, when you give them football one-on-one and they understand what to do, now they can go and stop an opponent. And that's when you got to go in the right direction. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're still working in football one-on-one at this time.
What's your biggest surprise? Biggest surprise? You've had, what, 14 practices?
14 practices.
What's the biggest surprise at this point?
The biggest surprise to this point, I'm going to go back to this, is that the confidence to go out there and make a play. In the game of football on defense, those who play it safe, they're going to miss the bus. If you have confidence, you're going to be aggressive, and you go to win. You don't go to play it safe. You don't go not to lose. You go to win. That's why Alabama has 3 national championships. That's why Florida State won a national championship. You have players, they go out there, they play to win. We have to get back that here, and that comes with confidence. Understanding how to play the game, trusting your teammates, and knowing what your job is, and then going out and doing that job. And when we get to that point of going to win, not just survive, then we'll be heading in the right direction.